This episode is sponsored by Kinsta. Between juggling client meetings, managing your website, and keeping up with everyday tasks, who has the time to stress out about website security? Well, with Kinsta, the technical stuff is taken care of, so you can focus on what you do best. Kinsta provides managed hosting for WordPress, offering lightning-fast load times, top-tier security, and unmatched human-only customer support. Whether you're a business owner, web developer, or running a digital agency, Kinsta makes managing your website easy and efficient. Kinsta provides enterprise-grade security, being one of the few hosting providers for WordPress with SOC 2 and other certifications, guaranteeing the highest level of security for your website. Thanks to their unlimited free expert-led migrations, Kinsta ensures a smooth transition for you from other hosting providers. Customers have reported 200% faster load times post-migration to their platform. What I find cool about Kinsta is their fast and reliable customer service and premium features that are included at no extra cost. Ready to experience Kinsta's hosting for yourself? Get your first month free when you sign up at kinsta.com today. That's KINSTA.com. Today's episode is brought to you by RapidCloud. Did you know that 53% of users abandon a website that takes more than 3 seconds to load? For businesses relying on WordPress, every second counts for user experience, conversions, SEO rankings, and revenue. And that's where RapidCloud comes in. RapidCloud is a high-performance managed WordPress hosting solution with advanced technologies like Lightspeed Enterprise and Object Cache Pro designed to deliver lightning-fast load times and handle the demands of today's dynamic websites. Whether you're running an e-commerce store, online learning platform, or a bustling media site, RapidCloud ensures lightning-fast performance, unmatched scalability, and enterprise-grade security, all backed by 24/7 expert support. RapidCloud empowers developers, business owners, and agencies to deliver seamless online experiences without ever worrying about downtime or slow load times. Use the promo code CODESTORY to get up to 25% off on all annual plans and 10% off monthly subscriptions. Offer valid for 2 billing periods only. That's promo code CODESTORY, all one word. Visit www.rapid.cloud and get started today. That's RAPYD.cloud.
One of the mistakes we made is we had just started to build out our design services. We didn't really have them nailed down in a way that they had the polish and crispness and professionalism that they do now and that our technical services have. Lettuce called us and said, hey, we need to add some more features to our application, and we're really excited about doing a rebuild. Can you guys do it? And we said, sure. And of course I say, and we're adding design. Would you like us to do the design too, rather than using a kind of two different parties? Lettuce dove in immediately. They're like, oh my gosh, we're so excited. So we bring them to the office to do a kickoff on the project, and it was a disaster. My name is Austin Vance. I am the CEO and co-owner of Focused.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing at the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
Our company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve. I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes,
pain.
we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it off
you.
the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really
It's
want it.
not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Austin Vance is helping your company prepare for a new era by helping your team build software.
This episode is sponsored by Speakeasy. Grow your API user adoption and improve engineering velocity with friction-free integration experiences. With Speakeasy's platform, you can now automatically generate SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in minutes. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory and generate your first SDK for free. This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, and AutoTrader, you're in good hands. Join the Wolfpack at QAWolf.com.
Austin Vance grew up in Oklahoma, but takes residence outside of Denver, Colorado now. He's a father of 3 boys who are also 3 and under, so he's quite busy. He loves woodworking and teaching his oldest son how to ski. When it comes to food, he loves all of it in general, but has been drawn to Asian fusion lately. And he enjoys reading business books and sci-fi, of which Blade Runner was mentioned number 1. Austin had several experiences with consulting firms where they operated under traditional land and expand models, i.e., increasing the footprint of their teams. He felt passionate about building a services company that was designed to deprecate itself, starting with the wide world of DevOps. This is the creation story of Focused.
I'm a software developer. It is who I am and what I love to do. Like last night, I kind of blacked out and went till 3 a.m. coding. I started Focus because I had been working at a large payments company, and we had been hiring kind of support through consultants and services. We're a services company. We'd been hiring support through services companies, and there's kind of an adversarial relationship between a services company or boutique services firms and their customers. And it never really made sense. Like, when I hire a consultant, I want to hire them because they have all this experience, and they're going to come in and they're going to help increase the quality of my team, increase the quality of my code base, bring skills in that I don't have. And what happens is those consultants come in and they kind of stay. They have this like land and expand model. And when I built Focus, I left this payments company because I was like, I think you could build a services company that's designed to deprecate itself. So we come in and we pair program and we write tests and we work with our customers to enable them to get new skills that they don't have. And eventually, like, the win for us is, rather than increasing our footprint at a customer from 2 developers to 10 developers, it's, did we go from, 5 developers down to 0 developers, and they feel like they can like steer on their own. The original service we offered was DevOps. We started in 2019. Right around that time was really like when cloud and PaaS and all those things were really popping off. Kubernetes was really starting to win the cloud wars, and software engineering had a little bit of it hit a lull in kind of innovation on what like the right kind of software engineering is. Agile had become ubiquitous in some way, shape, or form. Different companies were doing different amounts of it, but it was everywhere. And the agile methodologies and kind of the extreme methodologies of like automate everything and highly collaborative teams never made it into the cloud and or into the cloud spaces and the infrastructure spaces. And DevOps was really trying to do that. And so Focus started there and then grew from DevOps focused agency into, software engineering services and design services as well.
So tell me about that first version of Focus. So the first thing you wanted to create, where it was designed to deprecate itself and starting in the world of DevOps. Tell me about that first version. I ask a lot of questions about MVPs on this podcast, but I'm curious about what you would consider the MVP, right, of Focus.
The MVP of Focus was a group. I mean, it wasn't even a group. It was me, my co-founder, and one other. We wanted to be this like super unintimidating team that was unintimidated by any problem. The features of our product would, a service has to enter the world as a product. It has to have the same features. Otherwise, it kind of does everything poorly rather than one thing great. The features of our product were that we truly understood the migration path and the complexity of legacy infrastructure trying to get to the cloud. And so as you're taking legacy infrastructure, on-prem infrastructure, or even cloud infrastructure that maybe was a copy-paste of an on-prem design, we understood how to make that much more cloud native. And we would do that through automation. So things like using, Amazon CDK or Terraform, we would test it. It would all be continuously deployed. GitOps was, becoming super powerful. Kubernetes was super powerful. So it was these experts in legacy systems that understood how to take these features or these servers from legacy infrastructure style to kind of modern infrastructure style. And at the same time, we would pair program with our customers. DevOps are often not DevOps, but infrastructure teams to show them, hey, these tools are not that intimidating. You're very comfortable in Bash and you're very comfortable in a shell, but writing a little bit of Terraform is also not that intimidating. And it's the exact same thing you've been doing, but much more maintainable, much more shareable, repeatable, that kind of stuff.
I want to dive into it a little bit deeper around more decisions and trade-offs you had to make in that, early version, quote unquote, right, of your company, of what you're offering. And I could probably cherry pick a few things in there, but I want to see which one do you think was the most impactful kind of decisions or trade-off you had to make, and specifically that you made it and how you went through it and how you coped with that decision.
Prior to working at this payments firm, I worked for a really large consulting company. As we found customers, I had these customers, coming in wanting DevOps support. We were doing a really good job and they wanted other stuff. They wanted software development support, us to build an app, wanted product managers, wanted design. We lost focus, so we expanded really quickly. We added all these supplementary services, things that we weren't experts in, but thought we could be, or they could be kind of tack-on services to what we were. For the MVP decision, I think the hardest thing, it was price. Because I'd worked in services before and I ran a large services branch before, I understood what the market would bear in terms of pricing. I remember negotiating with one of our very first enterprise customers, a rental car company. They're ready to do a deal with us. They're telling me over and over again, if you do this, at a substantial discount, then we're going to give you way more work. And I think, I really stood firm on I understand the value of our service. And I really think that you guys understand the value of our service and the quality of our delivery and this leave behind quality that we're going to give you that is different than any other body shop. And so we really held firm on price, and I'm glad we did. It slowed down our growth pretty dramatically because deals kind of disappear as people hear pricing, or the sales process turns into much more of an educational process where we're teaching our customers why, the enablement portion and the deprecation portion of our engagements is so valuable to them, and why having 8 developers that you pay $80 an hour is actually less effective than having 2 that you pay $220 an hour or something like that.
This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Speakeasy. Whether you're growing the user adoption of your public API or streamlining internal development, SDKs can turn the chore of API integration into effortless implementation. Unburden your API users from guessing their way around your API while keeping your team focused on your product. Shorten the time to live integration and provide a delightful experience for your customers. With Speakeasy's platform, you can now automatically generate up-to-date, robust, idiomatic SDKs in 10 languages and Terraform providers in just a matter of minutes. SDKs are feature-rich with type safety, auto retries, and pagination. Everything you need to give your API the developer experience it deserves. Deliver a premium API experience without the premium price tag. Visit speakeasy.com/codestory to get started and generate your first SDK for free. So then let's move forward then. So you've got that version of Focused, right? You're gaining some traction. You've made the hard decisions. How did you progress and move forward? And you kind of alluded to some of this in your description of Focused. But tell me about how you move forward. And maybe I would relate it to something like a roadmap, or really, how did you decide what was the next most important thing to address for the company?
Our customers told us was kind of the coolest thing. We had good customers and they were asking for additional services or additional expertise. As I built Focused, I relied really heavily on my network, both for customers and for staff. It was really important and actually really critical to how we grew that we had a group of people that had either worked together before or had deep trust in each other, or had hired or worked with people at the company, at previous jobs or something like that. And I always wanted to be a full service software consultancy. I didn't want to just be stuck in DevOps. I'm a big believer in the fundamental law of constraints, where a manufacturing process any optimization before or after the most tight bottleneck is superficial. An optimization before the bottleneck will just, pile product or resources, up at the bottleneck. And any optimization post the bottleneck will continue to be starved more and more for resources because the bottleneck is constraining what can be fed to it. And so when we started to expand our services, we'd say like, okay, if we can get a deployment process and infrastructure to a place where it is stable, it is scalable, and it is automated, but it's not like perfect, what's the next bottleneck that this company faces? Is it that their code is not well tested, so they're putting out too many bugs? So releasing every day, but the quality is low. So we need to introduce automated testing and continuous integration. And is part of the problem that the features they're releasing are not what the customers are asking for. So that they need a design team to be out kind of banging on the world and understanding how people are engaging with their products. And so each one of those bottlenecks, we kind of move back and forth between them based on where our customers saw pain, rather than focusing, continuing to optimize a deployment flow that is already well optimized for the quality or throughput of code that's being produced.
So I'm curious about team, mentioning the law of constraints, and then also, what you mentioned about people and asking and your customers and things like that. I'm curious about how you went about building your team, and what do you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you?
Services is different than product, and so there's always this kind of give and take, because the scaling factor for a services company, assuming you can't charge more per hour because the market won't bear it, is more bodies. And so at a product company, you're looking to scale ARR in a different way. In the way we engage, there's 40-ish hours a week per person. You're not going to do 90 to get more revenue, because they have lives and jobs and they should be real people. So we scale based on people, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hire all incredible kind of people. We think a lot about like the employee experience, and we iterate on it. And it's not that we haven't made mistakes, but we hire for people. And I said earlier, we look for unintimidating and unintimidated people. Most of our interview process is focused around how people communicate about highly technical things. What we want is someone who has the patience and the empathy and the emotional intelligence to deeply communicate about something that is highly technical in a way that doesn't make someone feel stupid. And if they are capable of that, often they are an incredible developer or technologist, because they so deeply understand the technology that they're working on. To do that early on, I reached into my network. I would call people that I had worked with in the past and I'd say like, I learned so much from you. Do you want to come and work at Focused? We'd love to have you here. Or people would reach out to me that had worked for or with me in the past and say, I'm really excited you started your own thing. What are you trying to do? And we would, bring them on board. And that shared experience that we had, we skipped the storming portion of a new team because we'd all worked together in the past and went right into forming and norming. That was super important. Like from the network, reaching out, talking about the experience, talking about how we really want to be a craft-oriented consulting firm that puts high value in not just the billable hours, but in the technology and the technical expertise that our team has. Really brought people on.
This message is sponsored by QA Wolf. If slow QA processes bottleneck your software engineering team and you're releasing slower because of it, you need a solution. You need QA Wolf. QA Wolf gets engineering teams to 80% automated end-to-end test coverage and helps them ship 5 times faster by reducing QA cycles from hours to minutes. With over 100 5-star reviews on G2 and customer testimonials from SalesLoft, Drata, AutoTrader, and many more, you're in good hands. Ready to ship faster with fewer bugs? Join the Wolf Pack at QAWolf.com to see if they can help you squash the QA bottleneck. This episode is sponsored by Vance. You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. And obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors. But they take time and energy, pulling you away from building and shipping. And that's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups like yours get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. How, you ask? Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. And the platform connects you with trusted vCISOs to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. Join over 8,000 companies, including many Y Combinator and Techstars startups who trust Vanta. Simplify compliance and get $1,000 off at vanta.com/codestory. That's VANTA.com/codestory. This message is sponsored by SnapTrade. Link in-user brokerage accounts and build world-class investing experiences with SnapTrade's unified brokerage API. With over $12 billion in connected assets and over 300,000 connected accounts, SnapTrade's API quality and developer experience are second to none. SnapTrade is SOC 2 certified and uses industry-leading security practices. Developers can use the company's official client SDKs to build investing experiences in minutes without the limitations of traditional aggregators. Get started for free today by visiting snaptrade.com/codestory. Scalability is always interesting when it comes to a business like yours, Austin. So tell me about how you think about scalability. The question I'm looking for is have there been interesting areas where you've had to fight scalability as you've grown?
I think I overscaled. I think the biggest mistake I made as a CEO is we were super flooded with work at one point, and we were doing great work on all of our customers. But what we lost track of was creating this shared, deep tribal belonging for the team. And consulting's weird, especially remote consulting is different because you might spend most of your time with a totally different company than the company you work for. And so there's always this question about how does the services firm create enough value to their employee that they don't just leave the firm and go to the customer. We can always put into contracts you're not allowed to poach and stuff like that. But if I have employees who want to go to our customers, it means that I'm not creating enough value for them to want to be, in my firm versus at, a company that hired us. Scaling is about kind of creating a shared experience. The power of consulting is the breadth of work that we approach. We at any point have, 5 to 10 customers, and over the course of years have dozens and dozens of shared experience, where at a product company, you might not get that. If you are a developer looking to accelerate your experience and the services firm is doing well, scale comes from sharing that communal breadth of knowledge with new developers or new people joining the team, not necessarily a new developer, but new people joining the team. So they almost drink from a fire hose and get 3 years of experience in one because of the breadth that they're approached with. Consistent culture, consistent approaches. I could talk about tooling we use, and we're big fans of no private channels in Slack. The Slack is our office, and we try to keep everything kind of in the open as much as possible. That kind of stuff has really helped as well. And then, of course, to scale the culture across a remote setting and to scale the business, to scale the number of people without reducing the quality, we of course do IRLs. So we bring our whole team together to do everything from workshops to breaking bread and cheersing each other over a beer or coffee or something.
Okay, so as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built with Focus, what are you most proud of?
The most proud moments I've had at Focused are the IRLs. It's pretty incredible to walk into a room full of, at one point it was 10, and then it was 20, and then it was 30, and then it was 40, and then it was more. People that all are just so passionate about software and that scale, the shared language, that they care about what they're doing. We're doing lightning talks and people are talking about their hobbies and their families. That's when I'm the most proud. I can look at revenue numbers and the business, but I think what I'm proud of is that we've created something that actually has real value, and it has value not just to our customers, but to our employees. One of our big goals, there's this EOS thing, which is create a big 10-year goal or 5-year goal. And how do you get there is make Focused a resume badge of honor. So I want people to look at, Focused on your LinkedIn or on your resume and be like, oh my gosh, these people, they were at Focused. They definitely know how to code. They're definitely incredible developers, employees. And I think, there are a handful of companies in the world that everybody in our industry will recognize as that. And that's what I want out of this company. And as I see us getting closer and closer to that, I get very proud.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
One of our kind of marquee customers is a big restaurant group in Chicago. They were actually the first customer of Focused. Their name's Let Us Entertain You. They own a handful of restaurants around. One of the mistakes we made is we had just started to build out our design services. And we didn't really have them nailed down in a way that they had the polish and crispness and professionalism that they do now and that our technical services have. Lettuce called us and said, hey, we need to add some more features to our application. And we're really excited about doing a rebuild. Can you guys do it? And we said, sure. And of course I say, when we're adding design, would you like us to do the design too, rather than using a kind of two different parties, one to do the tech and one to do the design? And Lettuce dove in immediately. They're like, oh my gosh, we're so excited. So we bring them to the office to do a kickoff on the project, and it was a disaster. I mean, we didn't really have the workshop planned out. We didn't have the logistics around even getting in, having parking, the remote and hybrid setup was just difficult. And it really burned, I think, a lot of trust, both with the employees, because it felt like I kind of set them up for failure, and with Lettuce. The new blossoming design team was like, oh my gosh, we just got thrown into the lion's den and this was a disaster. And then Lettuce, on the same side was like, oh my gosh, do these guys know what they're doing with design? Should we even use them? It was really heartbreaking because of all the trust we had with them. And things go wrong. Products have bugs, and this is a bug, right? And we fix bugs. And the way you fix bugs in services is you tuck your tail as a leadership team and you say to the customer, we realize we made a mistake, let's figure out how to fix it. And you work together on fixing it. And that comes, in a handful of ways. It can come with extra work. It can come with some sort of discount or monetary change, or even just a cross my heart, hope to die, it won't happen again. But more importantly, as a leadership team, I think we really buckled down and said, hey, when we have a service, it has to have the polish that we would expect out of all of our other services. So we gave time back to our design team to go back and retrospect on what could have gone better. And so we re-engaged with Lettuce in the design space, and they happily, continue to use our design, and we really love them. But I think it was looking back at the kind of the rushed product. But there's the guy who made Mario. He had this quote, no one remembers a late game, but everybody remembers a bad one. And I think what we did there was we released a bad game instead of letting it be right. And in retrospect, I would have rather had a late game.
So what does the future look like for Focus, the company, what you offer, and for the team?
I've avoided talking about AI, and I don't want to talk a lot about it, but I think the future is really different. I think when we think about how we write software, my firm helps companies write better software, deploy better software, build better products. That's our goal. And one of the things that's changing is like I said, the software development industry specifically had kind of stagnated around optimization, through the release and kind of ubiquitous deployment of Agile. And the AI tooling and AI augmentation of developers, I think, is going to really change how people engage with the code that they write and the applications that they have. I'm not an expert in building a product or having a SaaS, so I don't know how AI is going to change the end products. But I do think it's going to change the way we craft software and build applications. I think it's going to lower the bar in a handful of places so more and more people can come in. It's going to raise the demand and value of creating highly scaled, iterative development processes. And so what I see Focused as and constantly leaning into is, what does it mean to be an incredible technologist? And that's what our future is whether we're 50 people or 500 or 5,000 people, everybody here is an incredible technologist and embracing, the best tools for the job. And so if we're woodworkers, to turn our nose up at using power tools would not be a great service to our customer. And I think we will embrace, how AI tooling comes into the developer flow and how it drives development similar to Agile or test-driven development or something like that. And I hope the future Focused sits on hundreds of people's resumes as a badge of honor, and it's recognized as that.
Let's switch to you, Austin. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why.
I read a lot. I am in a handful of professional groups that I talk to people about. I'm close with my dad. I talk to him a lot about business. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandfather was, my great-grandfather was. We talk a lot about business at home. And my co-founder and my wife, I talk to all of them, and they influence me deeply. I think I don't want to give advice, but the professional organizations are absolutely an incredible place to kind of have, and I don't mean trade organizations where you're kind of around your competitors and you're being kind of co-opetition. I think these places where you bring in a handful of competitors like Entrepreneurs Organization or YPO tend to be really incredible places to get feedback from different industries, different scales, and give you enough information to make strong decisions.
Austin, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
It's such generic advice. I don't want to give that. My first one is like, I would just encourage them to release, but I would encourage them to focus. Like, I named the company Focused because when a software development team is the most effective or a product team is the most effective is when they're not scattered. They're focused on like, what do we do? What is the feature we need? What is our one great thing that makes us stand out? You know, someone trying to build the next big thing. I think my real advice is there's a bunch of noise in this world. There's a bunch of SaaS tools. There's a bunch of promises. And like, if you can just focus on what is someone going to pay for? What do they actually want from you? You can start to get traction and then the rest follows. Because once you have customers, your customers tell you what they want next. And so get your customers in so that they can then tell you where to go rather than kind of having a lack of focus.
That's fantastic advice. Well, Austin, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of Focused.
Thank you very much for having me. This was really fun.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.